The cul-de-sac of Willow Creek looked like a postcard the day I moved in fresh divorce papers, still warm in my glove box. In a U-Haul full of dreams, I thought a quiet suburban life would finally give me peace. Perfectly trimmed lawns, identical beige, houses, white picket fences, the whole American dream, wrapped in a homeowners association covenant thicker than a phone book. I smiled at the welcome committee waving like idiots from across the street. Little did I know that smile was the last one Bar Kensington would ever let me keep without a fine. Barb, the HOA president for 15 glorious years, stood on her porch clipboard in hand like a general inspecting troops. Blonde helmet hair power suit, even in July pearls that probably cost more than my car. "Welcome to Willow Creek, Elena, dear," she cooed, voice dripping honey, but eyes sharp as tax audits. "We just love new blood. Just remember rule 4.7 grass must be exactly 2.3 inches, no more no less solar panels, only if approved in triplicate, and absolutely no political flags unless they're the American one and only on national holidays." I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. That first month, I played by every absurd rule. I measure my grass with a ruler because apparently eyeballing it wasn't good enough. I painted my mailbox the exact shade of willow beige from the official swatch book. I even pulled up my rose bushes after Barb sent a certified letter claiming they were visual clutter, threatening the neighborhood aesthetic. Todd and Mike, the two golden boys on the board, got away with everything. Todd's monster truck parked on his lawn for weeks. He's fixing the engine, dear. It's community spirit. Mike's kids playing basketball till midnight, hoops banging against the garage. Boys will be boys, Elena. Don't be so sensitive. But my single wind chime? Violation notice in my mailbox by Monday with a $200 fine. I paid it. I always paid it. Because back then I still believed if I was quiet enough, polite enough, they'd eventually see me as one of them. I remember the first time Barb publicly dismissed me at the monthly HOA meeting. The hall smelled like burnt coffee and entitlement. She stood at the podium gavel tapping like she was running Congress. We owe everything to our model residents like Todd and Mike, who truly embody the Willow Creek spirit, strong, practical problem solvers. She glanced my way for half a second. Some folks just never quite have what it takes to fit in here. But we're patient. The room chuckled. I sat in the back row, clutching my complaint form about the broken streetlight that had left my driveway pitch black for 3 months. I never got to speak. Barb wrapped up early. Time for refreshments, everyone. I walked home in the dark again. That night, I started keeping a folder. Every violation notice, every snide email, every time she praised Todd for taking initiative while fining me for the same thing. I didn't know why yet. I just knew the folder was growing, and so was a knot in my stomach. Then came the day everything cracked. My husband David had been gone 6 months, car accident on the interstate, the kind of random horror that still woke me up gasping at 3 a.m. I'd asked politely for a small memorial garden in my front yard, just 3 rose bushes and a simple plaque, nothing flashy. Barb's response came in an email copied to the entire board. Request denied per section 12.3, emotional displays disrupt neighborhood harmony. Furthermore, any additional plantings will incur daily fines until removed. I stared at the screen for an hour. The same woman who'd approved Mike's hideous inflatable Christmas Santa for 8 straight months couldn't spare me 3 roses for the man I'd buried. I called her office, voice shaking. "Barb, it's just a tiny garden for David." Her laugh was light breezy. "Oh, honey, rules are rules. We treat everyone the same." But we both knew that was a lie. Todd had a 10-foot flagpole flying his favorite football team year-round, no problem. I hung up and cried for the first time in weeks. Not loud, ugly sobs, just silent tears while I stared at the empty patch of dirt where my roses should have been. That was the moment I stopped asking for permission. I started watching. Really watching. How Barb manipulated the vote every time someone dared question her. How she leaked anonymous complaints about residents she didn't like until the whole street turned against them. How she smiled sweetly at block parties while her fines funded the annual president's bonus. I learned the game, and I stopped playing by her rules. Instead, I planted my memorial garden at night under cover of darkness, tiny white roses that bloomed defiant against every violation notice she tacked to my door. I paid the fines. I smiled when she drove by. But inside, I was building something she would never see coming. The folder grew thicker. My silence grew sharper. And Willow Creek kept pretending everything was perfect while Barb's little kingdom slowly rotted from the inside. By the second year, I had become the neighborhood ghost. People still waved, but their eyes slid right past me the way you ignore a cracked sidewalk you know is there, but can't be bothered to fix. Barb's weekly newsletters always had a paragraph about maintaining standards with a not-so-subtle dig at certain residents who insist on testing our patience. Everyone knew it was me. Todd would clap me on the shoulder at the mailbox. Hang in there, Elena, Barb's just doing her job, while his own yard looked like a junkyard. Mike's wife brought me casseroles after David's anniversary. We're all so sorry, dear, but never once invited me to their backyard barbecues. I stopped going to HOA meetings altogether. Instead, I spent nights at my kitchen table laptop, glowing, building something new. I started small, a little website called HOA Freedom Files, anonymous at first, just stories from other neighborhoods, screenshots of insane fines, letters from presidents drunk on power. Then I added templates for appeals, legal loopholes, ways to fight back without losing your house. The site grew. People from California to Florida started emailing me their horror stories. I answered every single one at 2 a.m., while Barb slept soundly in her McMansion, funded by violation fees. I never used my real name. Not yet. But the consulting work trickled in. First, one client, a single mom in Texas, facing daily fines for her child's bike left on the porch. I helped her win in small claims court. Word spread. Soon I had a waiting list. I quit my dead-end office job and went full-time. My living room became command central, whiteboards covered in HOA bylaws, flowcharts of appeals processes. Every victory I celebrated alone with a glass of cheap wine and a quiet toast to David. See, babe, they can't bury us forever. Barb, of course, smelled blood in the water. She started a neighborhood whisper campaign. I heard Elena's turning into one of those anti-HOA activists. We all know how that ends: messy divorces, bitter feuds. Best to keep our distance. Todd and Mike nodded along at every potluck. I heard the rumors secondhand from the one neighbor who still talked to me, Mrs. Alvarez, the elderly lady 3 houses down who'd lost her bird feeder to a visual pollution fine last spring. They're scared of you, Elena, she whispered one afternoon over iced tea. Barb's never met anyone who fights back without screaming. It terrifies her. I just smiled and refilled her glass. Let them talk. My bank account was growing faster than their gossip. The turning point came when Barb pushed too far. I'd finally installed solar panels after jumping through 6 months of paperwork and 3 different engineering reports. They were sleek black, barely visible from the street. The approval letter sat framed on my desk. 2 weeks later, I came home to a bright orange violation sticker on my door and a crew of workers tearing the panels down. Barb's note was attached: unauthorized installation after approval revocation due to new safety concern section 9.14. I stood in my driveway watching my investment get hauled away while neighbors peeked through curtains pretending not to see. That night, I added the photos to my folder, the ripped wires, the smug smile Barb gave me when I called to protest. Safety first, dear. You understand. I understood perfectly. I understood that her kingdom only worked if everyone stayed small. So I stopped staying small. I incorporated Voss HOA reform consulting officially. Hired a part-time assistant, started flying to other states to testify at hearings. My first big win was a class action suit against a similar HOA in Arizona that bankrupted their board and refunded every illegal fine. National news picked it up. I did interviews under a fake name still. But inside Willow Creek, the rumors turned vicious. Barb called an emergency meeting. We have a traitor in our midst, someone actively working against our community values. She never said my name, but everyone stared at my empty chair. I watched the live stream from my living room laughing so hard I almost spilled my wine. Traitor? Honey, I was just getting started. The folder now had its own filing cabinet. Every email, every fine, every public humiliation cataloged, dated, photographed. I wasn't angry anymore. I was patient. The kind of patient that waits years for the perfect moment. And that moment was coming faster than Barb could ever imagine. Her retirement gala was already being planned, the grand finale of her 15-year reign. Gold invitations embossed with her name, celebrating a legacy of leadership. I RSVP'd yes with a single elegant card, no return address. She'd see me there. She'd see everything. But first I had a box to build. Dark walnut custom engraved on the lid in quiet silver letters. From your biggest failure. Inside, 3 items that would finally make her understand what she'd spent 15 years ignoring. The first was the original complaint letter about David's memorial garden, the one she denied with such casual cruelty. The second, a framed photo of David and me on our last vacation, his arm around me, both of us laughing before the accident, before the fines, before Barb decided my grief was an eyesore. And the third, a glossy press release fresh off the printer. Voss, HOA Reform Consulting, named one of the top 50 firms disrupting the industry nationwide. My name in bold. No daughter of no resident of Willow Creek. Just me. Elena Voss, founder and CEO. The woman Barb swore would never have what it takes. The weeks leading up to the gala, I moved like a shadow through Willow Creek. I paid every new fine with a smile. I nodded politely when Todd lectured me about community harmony at the mailbox. I even attended one last HOA meeting just to watch Barb gloat about the upcoming celebration. It's not about me, of course, she simpered from the podium. It's about all of us who built this beautiful neighborhood, especially our strongest voices, Todd and Mike, who never once questioned the rules that keep us safe. The room clapped. I sat in the very back, row invisible again. But this time I was smiling inside because I knew exactly how the night would end. My consulting firm had exploded. I was mentoring young attorneys, helping single moms fight illegal assessments, testifying before state legislatures about HOA overreach. One client, a retired teacher in Florida, sent me a thank you card with a photo of her new garden, the one her HOA had tried to destroy. I pinned it above my desk, right next to Barb's thickest violation file. Every success was another nail in the coffin of the world Barb had tried to trap me in. I started sleeping better. The nightmares about David faded, replaced by quiet pride. I wasn't invisible anymore. I was just waiting. Barb's fear started showing in little cracks. She added 3 new rules in 1 month, all aimed at home businesses, because apparently my quiet office work was now a threat to property values. She drove past my house twice a day, slowing down like she could see through the walls. Once she even knocked on my door, clipboard ready. Elena, dear, we've had reports of excessive computer use after hours. You know the covenant about disturbing the peace. I offered her coffee, smiled sweetly. Barb, I run a legitimate consulting firm. Everything's been approved through the proper channels, your channels actually. Her smile faltered for half a second. That was the first time I saw a real doubt in her eyes. She recovered quickly, of course. Well, we'll have to review that approval, won't we? But she left without issuing a fine. Small victories. The neighborhood started shifting too. Mrs. Alvarez began slipping me notes at night. Keep going, girl. We're all watching. A few younger families started asking me for advice off the record. My HOA is fining me for my kid's lemonade stand. Can you help? I helped. Quietly. Word spread in whispers. Barb's perfect kingdom was developing hairline fractures, and she knew exactly who was holding the hammer. She tried one last public humiliation at the pre-gala mixer, stood up with her champagne flute, and said, some people think they can change the system from within, but we all know real community leaders are born, not made. Here's to Todd and Mike, the heart and soul of Willow Creek. Everyone raised their glasses. I raised mine too from across the room and toasted her directly. She met my eyes and for the first time looked away first. I spent the night before the gala polishing the box. Ran my fingers over the engraving. Practiced the 6 words I would say in the mirror. From your biggest failure. Not angry. Not triumphant. Just calm. The same calm I'd carried for 3 years while she tried to erase me. David's photo went in last. I stared at his smile for a long time. Tonight they see us, babe. Both of us. I wrapped the box in deep navy paper, tied a silver bow that caught the light like a blade. Set on my kitchen counter where it gleamed like a promise. Then I chose my dress, simple, elegant navy that matched the box exactly. Heels that clicked with purpose. No more hiding. The night of the gala, the hall sparkled like a wedding no expense spared. Gold banners proclaimed 15 years of unparalleled leadership. Barb Kensington. Slideshows played on giant screens, Barb cutting ribbons, Barb shaking hands with the mayor, Barb smiling beside Todd and Mike at every community event. I wasn't in a single photo. Of course. I walked in head-high, box tucked under my arm. Heads turned. Whispers rippled. Barb stood at the center of it all, holding court in a red power suit that screamed, "I own this room." She spotted me immediately. Her smile froze. "Elena, you came." I nodded politely. "Wouldn't miss it for the world, Barb." Todd and Mike exchanged nervous glances. The air felt thick with the kind of tension that happens right before lightning strikes. Barb gave her speech like a queen addressing her subjects. "I owe it all to the incredible residents who made this possible, especially our shining examples, Todd and Mike, true pillars of strength and loyalty. Some people simply never had what it takes to carry this community forward, but that's okay. We love them anyway." The room chuckled uncomfortably. A few eyes flicked toward me. I stood slowly, heels clicking across the marble floor, the only sound in the sudden silence. Every head turned. Barb's face went pale under her perfect makeup. I stepped onto the stage without being invited, placed the box gently in her hands, and looked her straight in the eyes. "From your biggest failure." Then I turned and walked out. No drama. No shouting. Just the soft click of the door behind me and the stunned silence I left in my wake. Outside, the cool night air hit my face like freedom. I didn't run. I walked. Heels steady on the pavement past the identical houses with their perfect lawns and invisible chains. Behind me, the hall doors burst open. Voices spilled out, frantic, overlapping. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I'd seen the look on Barb's face when my fingers left the box the exact moment her kingdom started crumbling. Inside, the silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Barb stood frozen at the podium, box resting on her palms like it might bite her. Todd cleared his throat, trying to laugh it off. Well, that was dramatic. No one joined him. Mrs. Alvarez in the front row actually smiled. Barb's hands trembled as she untied the silver bow. The lid opened with a soft creak. First, she pulled out the letter, the original complaint about David's memorial garden. Her own words typed in cold black ink. "Emotional displays disrupt neighborhood harmony." She read it once, then again, like she couldn't believe it was real. The room watched in dead quiet. Then the framed photo. David and me laughing on that beach, trip, his arm around my shoulders, eyes full of life. In the corner, I'd written the date and a single line. "The husband you find me for grieving." Barb's perfectly manicured nails dug into the frame. Her breathing changed shallow quick. And then the press release. Bold headline: Voss, HOA Reform Consulting, named one of America's top 50 disruptive firms. Founder and CEO, Elena Voss. Below it, bullet points: my biggest wins, the Arizona class action, the legislative testimony, the thousands of homeowners I'd helped fight boards just like hers. A color photo of me at a podium speaking to a room full of state senators. Not the quiet ghost she'd spent years erasing. A woman with power. The scream came sudden, raw, like an animal caught in a trap. Barb dropped the box. Papers scattered across the stage. This can't be her. Her voice cracked, echoing off the walls. Todd rushed forward, trying to read over her shoulder. His face drained of color. Wait, she's the one who took down the Arizona board? That Elena. Mike just stared, mouth open like a fish. The slideshow still looped behind them, photos of Barb's glory days, now looking ridiculous against the truth lying at her feet. People started whispering, then murmuring, then outright talking. Mrs. Alvarez stood up, slowly clapped once. Then another neighbor joined. Then more. Not for Barb. For the truth finally out in the open. Barb clutched the podium, knuckles white. She was always the problem. Always testing the rules. I was protecting the neighborhood. But her voice sounded small, now pathetic. The same voice that had once made grown men apologize for their lawn height, now begging to be believed. Todd, try to salvage it. Barb, we all know you did your best. But even he sounded unsure. The room had turned. 15 years of fear and fines and favoritism suddenly exposed in one small box. I was already 3 blocks away when my phone started buzzing. Missed calls from numbers I hadn't saved in years. Texts pouring in. Elena, what the hell just happened? Barb is losing it in there. I silenced everything. Sat on my front porch under the tiny memorial garden that had survived every fine and smiled at the white roses glowing in the moonlight. The next morning, my inbox exploded. 57 emails from neighbors suddenly remembering my name. Mrs. Alvarez brought over fresh muffins. I've never been prouder to live here. Even Todd sent an awkward message. Hey, maybe we can talk about some of those rules. I read them all while sipping coffee on my balcony overlooking the same cul-de-sac that once made me feel invisible. Then came the one from Barb. Subject line, please. I opened it anyway. Elena, I opened the box. I saw everything. I didn't know. I thought I was doing the right thing. Maybe I was wrong. Please let me explain. I read it twice, then deleted it. Not out of anger. Out of peace. Her apology wasn't for me. It was for the version of herself she could no longer face in the mirror. I made one last gesture. Anonymous donation in Barb's name to a national fund for homeowners fighting abusive associations. I requested the scholarship be called The Daughters Who Were Told They Weren't Enough. A small note attached. Let them grow without needing permission. Signed, simply Elena. That was my closure. Not a conversation. Not a screaming match. Just the quiet knowledge that I had never been her failure. She had been mine, and now the whole neighborhood knew it. The days after the Gala, Willow Creek felt different. Lawns still measured, but the measuring tape seemed lighter. People started leaving their kids' bikes on the porch without fear. Mrs. Alvarez planted a bird feeder right in her front yard and dared anyone to complain. Barb kept her porch light off for a week. No more clipboard patrols. No more emergency meetings. The board quietly revised 3 of the most ridiculous rules without fanfare. Todd and Mike suddenly found themselves answering questions of the mailbox instead of asking them. Hey, did you know Elena helped that family in Florida keep their garden? They nodded awkwardly. The power had shifted and everyone felt it. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. My consulting firm tripled in size overnight. Clients from coast to coast wanted the woman who'd taken down Willow Creek without raising her voice. I hired 3 more staff, opened a small office downtown. Mentored young women who reminded me of the girl I used to be, the one who measured grass at midnight just to stay invisible. Every time I signed a new contract, I thought of David. We did it, babe. We really did it. The folder I'd kept for 3 years now sat in a locked drawer collecting dust. I didn't need evidence anymore. The truth had already done its work. Barb tried one last time. Showed up at my door 2 weeks later. No clipboard, no pearls, just a tired woman in jeans. Elena, I've been thinking about everything. Maybe we can start over. The neighborhood needs someone like you on the board. I looked at her for a long moment, the same woman who had fined me for mourning, now asking for my help. I smiled politely. Barb, I'm not interested in boards anymore. I'm interested in tearing them down when they deserve it. She flinched, turned to leave, then paused. I really didn't know about David. I'm sorry. I nodded. I know you are. But sorry doesn't grow gardens. She walked away smaller somehow. The queen without her crown. The neighborhood threw a quiet block party that summer. No HOA approval needed. Mrs. Alvarez brought her famous potato salad. Kids played basketball until the street lights came on. I sat on my porch watching the white roses sway in the breeze. Someone had left a single card in my mailbox and signed, "Thank you for showing us we could be more." I pinned it above the press release on my wall. Proof that silence, when used right, becomes louder than any scream. I still live in Willow Creek. Still pay my dues on time. But now when Barb drives past, she doesn't slow down. She looks away. And every time I see those perfect lawns stretching in every direction, I remember the woman I used to be, the one who thought she had to shrink to fit. Then I look at my own yard, the memorial garden, thriving, the solar panels, gleaming, the wind chime, singing freely in the wind, and I smile. Because I never needed their approval to grow. I just needed to stop asking for it. Some people think revenge has to be loud explosions, lawsuits, screaming matches. But the sweetest kind is quiet. It's walking away while they finally see what they lost. It's succeeding so completely they have no choice but to choke on the truth. It's standing in the same neighborhood that tried to bury you and blooming anyway. Barb Kensington learned that the hard way. And the rest of Willow Creek? They're still learning. One perfectly measured blade of grass at a time. If this story hit you in the chest, share it with someone who's still shrinking to fit someone else's rules. You never needed their permission to become everything they swore you couldn't. And if you're dealing with your own HOA Karen right now, remember this: the box is already in your hands. All you have to do is hand it over.